Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey, National ERISA and Individual Disability Attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started, I have to give you a legal disclaimer. This is not legal advice, but I will tell you that nothing will ever prevent me from giving you an easy to understand overview of the disability insurance world, the games the carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So off we go. Do you suffer from tinnitus, Meniere's disease, or some other profound hearing loss? Today, I'm going to be walking you through the hallmark indicators of a few hearing loss disorders, how those who suffer from the disease tackle disability claims, and tell you a real life story about a claimant that I'm representing in the claim of the problems that you can see or experience in a Meniere's disease case. So, even if you don't have a profound hearing loss, I think you're still going to find some useful tidbits. So I'm going to talk about 4 topics. First, I'm going to do an overview of hearing loss disorders and how disability carriers evaluate hearing loss, tinnitus, and Meniere's disease, how disability carriers view hearing loss, tinnitus, and Meniere's disease claims, the medical testing you have to have for a profound hearing loss disorder, and how Unum got slammed in a Meniere's disease case, and the lessons you can learn. So let's take a break. Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. I'm going to talk about how disability carriers view hearing loss, tinnitus, and Meniere's disease claims. Now, the ultimate issue for the disability carrier is whether you are hearing loss, tinnitus, or Meniere's disease and symptoms have progressed to the point that you can no longer perform your occupation. And that's an issue, particularly if you've had these symptoms for some time, because the question is going to be well, look, they've worked for years with this condition. What's changed? Why is it all of a sudden they can no longer work? Or you might have a situation where there's a sudden onset of the symptoms, and the disability carrier is still going to be asking why it is that you can't perform your occupational duties, and how are your symptoms progressing or changing with treatment. Your claim is going to be decided based on medical records, forms, statements documenting the severity, frequency, and duration of your symptoms, and the impact of treatment on your medical condition. Now, I'm going to distinguish between what I call a moderate case of hearing loss and a severe case of the hearing loss, tinnitus, or Meniere's disease, as compared to one that's not quite as severe. And I have found that disability carriers are more likely to accept and pay benefits in the case of a moderate to severe hearing loss, tinnitus, or Meniere's disease case and its complications. But again, your medical records have to establish an objective basis for the diagnosis. And the carrier is going to be looking for these symptoms: ringing in the ears, buzzing, hissing, chirping, whistling, dizziness, hearing loss, difficulty concentrating, difficulty maintaining focus, difficulty with cognition, problems sleeping, nauseousness, vomiting. They're also going to be looking for the complications associated with dizziness. And they're going to be looking at these medical records again and measuring those records against the forms that you're filling out and statements that you might be giving to the disability insurance company. Now, you need to understand, when you file a claim for benefits, they're going to be getting your records. They're going to have your physician complete the attending physician statement form. And many of these cases are accepted initially, but they will be denied once your condition is stable or it has become stable with treatment. What I also see is the denial of benefits after the completion of treatment or a period of stability. And so the carrier assumes that your hearing loss, tinnitus, or Meniere's disease is stable and that you can go back to work. Because after all, remember, you've worked with it before if you've had this as a pre-existing condition. On the flip side, not all disability claims adjusters are familiar with the progression of hearing loss and other symptoms that can happen, the treatment or the side effects of the treatment that can result in disability. So we really have to spell this out in detail, not only in your medical records, but with objective medical testing that supports your claim and of course, the residual functional capacity form that will help tie some of this together. When the disability carrier is looking at your medical records, they're going to ask a physician and their employee to look at the records. Now, I will tell you that in my experience, not all the disability carriers will have your file reviewed by a competent or qualified physician, when in fact they should be having these types of claims, in my opinion, reviewed from the very beginning by an ENT and not some doc or family doctor. But in any event, they're going to look for how long you've had the symptoms, the nature of your symptoms, have your symptoms progressed or changed over time, what you reported to your physician about how your symptoms impact your activities of daily living, and what you say in that activity of daily living form you completed. The nature of the treatment, the response to the treatment, the side effects of medication, the extent and nature of your symptoms after treatment, whether you've been seen by specialists for treatments of your symptoms, what your physician's opinion is about your restrictions and limitations, and is there any objective evidence that would support that opinion. So you can see that symptoms, functionality are key to winning a case, and you got to be consistent. Got it? All right, let's take a break.
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy, with tips and to-dos regarding your disability application that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you won't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we are giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Let's talk about the medical testing you have to have for your hearing loss disorder disability claim. Now, if you have Meniere's disease, your physician is going to diagnose Meniere's if you have 2 or more episodes of vertigo. And that's the feeling of spinning or moving when you're still. And it has to last 20 minutes to 24 hours. Your vestibular system, which includes the inner ear, your eyes, and nerves, help us with balance, coordination, and posture. And the vertigo happens when your vestibular system isn't working correctly. I think of it like a gyroscope, if you will. Another common symptom of Meniere's disease with the vertigo can be hearing loss, and that can change from better to worse, which is known as fluctuating hearing loss. There can be a sensation of ear pressure when your ear feels like it's full or your ear feels like it's plugged. There can be a ringing or a buzzing sensation or noise in your ear known as tinnitus. In my view, any one or a combination of these symptoms can be the basis of a long-term disability claim. But there's medical testing that a disability carrier expects to see, particularly in a Meniere's disease case. And I will tell you, they hate these cases because they're based on subjective complaints, like the vertigo, the sensation of ear pressure, the ringing, the buzzing, noise in your ears, nauseousness, all of which can fluctuate. And I know that these symptoms can make you feel sick, tired, or you may have a hard time hearing or paying attention. Again, disability carriers hate these subjective type of complaints. So what they expect to see is a history of your symptoms in terms of the frequency of the symptoms, the nature of the symptoms, how long they lasted, what problems you had performing your occupational duties while you have these symptoms. But they're also going to be looking for medical testing. And that's going to include something called an audiogram, or a VNG or ENG, a electrocardiograph, which is an ECOCHG, and an MRI of the brain. I think that the lack of this kind of testing can doom your claim, as this is the kind of testing you see in these cases. But just because some of this testing is negative doesn't mean that you don't have a disability insurance claim. I think that you need to consult with an experienced ERISA disability attorney who can review your medical records and give you recommendations for documentation of your symptoms, necessary medical testing, and dealing with negative medical testing before you stop work and apply for benefits. Because any one of these errors can potentially destroy your Meniere's disability insurance claim. Got it? Let's take a break.